Yo, what's up, guys? We're back with another video today. And guys, UFC Fight Night, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady is happening this weekend. And to be honest, I'm actually low-key excited. I feel like that this fight is actually getting slept on a lot for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like a lot of people still, even though we're at fight week, it's not getting the same talk as it should be, right? I mean, yes, Leon Edwards is boring. I'm not denying that. I don't like Leon Edwards. This is not me defending Leon Edwards, like, because I'm a Leon Edwards fan. I'm not. But because Leon Edwards was, like, the formal champion, and, you know, Sean Brady's, like, a number 5 ranked guy, you know, this is, like, basically a number 1 contendership. So I feel like this isn't getting talked about as much. But regardless of that, you know, my opinions on this, I'm going to be giving my full predictions on this full card, starting with the prelims and then ending with the main event. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, now the first fight that we have is Guram Katiladze versus Karen Fernandez. I think that this is an easy win for Guram, to be honest. I mean, he's Georgian. He trains with Topuria. Topuria's actually giving me his corner, by the way. So that's going to be interesting. I just don't think that this is, like, much. I think this is, like, a free win for Guram. I mean, Fernandez is not a thing bad. He's not, like, a bad fighter. But I feel like Guram's just better overall. So, and I don't think Guram's going to finish him. I feel like this could be a finish, but at the same time, I don't think so. I think Fernandez honestly has a better chance of finishing Guram than, like, Guram does at finishing Fernandez. But still, I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is going to probably go to a decision for Guram. Alright, now the next fight that we have is Nathan Fletcher versus Colleen Loringan. Now, this one we have a British versus an Irish, you know. Classic history, you know. Okay, I'm not gonna get into that. With this fight, to be honest, I don't know. Like, I want to go with Colin because, like, he's Irish and I got some Irish in me, but I just can't do that. Colin is just not good at all. This guy is, no, he's 1-2 in his last, like, 3 fights in the UFC. That's how many fights he's had. And it's like, it's not like he fought, like, one decent guy who was also a 38-year-old, so that's not good luck to have at all. And then you have a guy like Nathan Fletcher, who is not necessarily the best fighter, I would say, but he's a dangerous grappler as well. Now, Colin has never been submitted before in his UFC career, but I still think that, like, the threat of Nathan Fletcher, like, with his grappling and all that stuff, is going to be too much for Colin. And I just don't think he's that good, to be straight up honest with you. So, to be honest, I'm going to go with Nathan Fletcher by submission round 2, to be honest. Alright, next up, we have Shuna Bona versus Paji Tumor. Now, this one's interesting because you have another Irish fighter, the only female Irish fighter, I believe. I might be wrong on that. And you also have, like, the only female Indian fighter right now. And she's the only person who's actually won an MMA fight for India. To be honest, though, even though Torja has won fight recently, these are still, like, some of the worst fighters I have ever seen in, like, the women's sport. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I don't think neither of them are anywhere good. They are both horrible, in my opinion. But I think Ponja is just a little bit better. A little bit better. Why? I don't really know. I want to support, these Irish fighters, but I just can't because they're just not good. Like, the best person right now for Ireland is Ian Gary. And Ian Gary right now trains in Brazil. So I can't even count Ian Gary because he's, like, in Brazil. But he's still technically Irish. So, yeah, fair play to him. But, yeah, regardless, though, I don't think that Shuna Bona is, like, good at all. So I'm going to go with Tumor by decision, to be honest. Alright, next up, we have Christian Lore Duquesne versus Andre Polive. Now, this is actually a pretty interesting fight, actually. Because, for one, Christian's not, like, a bad fighter. He got beaten up by, like, Rodriguez, which is not really the best look. Because Rodriguez got gassed out in, like, the second round in his main event against Jaron Cannonier. That's actually crazy. And at the same time, you've got this guy, Andre Polive, who I did watch on his Dana White Contender Series, and he looked pretty good against Liam Anderson. He pieced him up pretty well. He almost finished him at a couple points. There were points where it looked like he could have finished him, but he didn't. I'm leaning towards Andre Polive to win this just because, for one, he's Russian, and the Russian dudes, for the most part, are really good. They take this very seriously. And I don't think Christian Lueve, like, he's decent, but I don't think he's anywhere good, maybe. Maybe if he locks in, he might be, but I don't think that much, to be honest. I'm going to go with Andre Polive by decision. Alright, the next fight we have is Marcin Tybura versus Mick Parkin. I'm kind of excited for this fight. I don't know why. Originally, I was going to pick Marcin Tybura to win this fight, but like I slowly I was like, you know what? I'm going with the hype. I'm going with the hype train. I'm going to be delusional with this one. I'm going to pick Mick Parkin by decision. I don't know why. I just see that this could be such an easy fraud check because Marcin Tybura in his last fight fraud checked. Who was he fraud checked anyways? I don't even remember, but he fraud checked some up and coming heavyweight prospect, whatever, grappled him and just TKO'd him because he beat him up so bad on the ground. And I feel like there could be a same repeat here with Mick Parkin, but I actually think Mick Parkin's much better than the guy Marcin Tybura fought in this last fight. Plus, he is training with Tom Aspinall, and I feel like the guys over there are gonna like take training seriously. You know, they're gonna like actually study their opponent. So for that, I'm gonna go with And for that, I'm going to go with Mick Parkin by decision. It's another close one. These last like couple fights on here are really close in my opinion. I was going either way with both of them because Felipe Dos Santos, he's 1-2 in his last like 3 fights in UFC, but one of them was against Manal Kape and he looked really good, but at the same time it was a short notice, so fighters can do a lot better when it is a short notice, so I think that played a part into why he had a really good fight with Manal Kape. He's lost his last fight, so there's that. And Lunar Caveat, you know, he did win his debut in the UFC, but it was a very close and competitive fight from when I remembered watching it. I was honestly disappointed. I thought he was going to look a lot better, like knock him out. I actually think I predicted him to KO him in like the first round or something like that in like one of my older videos. You can go check it out and correct me if I'm right or wrong on that. But honestly, though, I'm going to go with Lueve Caveat just because he is much younger. He is slightly younger, and I think he looked slightly better than Felipe Dos Santos did in his last fight. I mean, Felipe did lose his last fight, and Caveat did win his last fight as well. So I guess I'll go with that, and I'll go with him by decision. This one pisses me off. Jai Herbert versus Chris Padlier. This one annoys me, because like I can see either one of these guys winning. Jai Herbert is really good. He was the only guy who was close to finishing Ilia Topuria. That's kind of crazy. When I look at his resume, it's just bums that he's not fighting. And then there's like Ilia Topuria, and I'm just like, that's so funny when you think about it. But with Jai Herbert, like, he's tall, he's rangy, he's a decent striker, he's got good leg kicks. We saw that with the Ilia Topuria fight. With Chris Padley, he's the exact opposite. He's a grappler. He's not really like a striker, I'd say. He is younger, which also gives him advantage, because I didn't even realize Jai Herbert's like 36 years old. He don't look 36, in my opinion. And, you know, it was really tough. I was going to go with Chris Padlier just because he's on a much better winning streak compared to Jai Herbert. I know Chris Padlier has only fought like twice in UFC, and that's not much. And he's fought guys like James Longtop and Roing Zhu, two not great fighters, to be honest. I mean, James Longtop did give a good fight to Rufi, but like he weighed like 50 pounds over the weight for the lightweight division. You know, it was just a mess, that fight. And I don't know, man. I want to go with Chris Padlier, but I just feel like Jai Herbert's going to actually look good in this fight. I don't know why. And also because it's in like the UK, he's going to have the crowd with him and all that stuff. Oh, I hate this prediction, but I'm going to go with Jai Herbert by decision. That's what I'm going to go with for this fight. All right, next fight we have Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Corrile. This is actually a really good fight. These are two really solid unranked featherweights in the division. I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood by decision. There's a lot of decisions on this card, to be honest. I could be wrong. Maybe there'll be some good finishes, but we'll see. But I think Nathaniel Wood is actually a lot better than people give him credit to. He lost his last... He's like what? I can't even remember. But he lost a fight not too long ago. And it was just a mess for that fight. He got hit in the groin many times at that point. And it was just rough for Nathaniel Wood. But I honestly think Nathaniel Wood is like a really good fighter. And a really like he's someone that people don't look into that much. He's actually pretty solid. He's got good striking, good grappling, good chin, good cardio. Overall, he's just really solid. He just needs to fight like good opponents and just get that good experience. So for that, I'm still going to go with Nathaniel Wood by decision. Morgan is a good test for him. Like, I could see Morgan winning this, but I feel like Nathaniel Wood's going to look much better than Morgan is in this fight. All right, next up, we have Jordan Vicente versus Chris Duncan. Chris Duncan, I thought for some reason this guy Chris Duncan was like 39 years old. I mean, you look at his face and you would just expect him to look at like an old fighter, but he's only 31, which is very surprising to me. He's 2 years younger than Jordan is. He has looked good actually in his UFC run. He's like 4-1 in his last like 5 fights, I think. I can't exactly remember, but he's been on a good run in the UFC so far. Jordan Vichant, he lost his debut against the first person who's fighting this card, Graham, which is actually kind of funny. Graham's actually pretty solid, so I don't think it's like a bad loss to have, and I think it was a short notice as well. I can't remember. Someone needs to remind me if it was a short notice or not, but I'm gonna go with Jordan. I'm not too confident with this one, but I feel like Jordan's gonna like submit him. I don't know why. Call me crazy for that, but I feel like Jordan's gonna somehow like actually submit him. Jordan has a lot of submissions in his game, and Chris Duncan, he has gone submit before in his last fight. Actually, his last loss in the UFC was a submission. I just remembered that. So I think that Jordan Vichant, and he is a solid fighter, don't get me wrong. So I think that it's very likely that Jordan's going to be able to submit him. And call me crazy, I'm going to say the first round, to be honest. I actually think that. All right, next fight we have Molly McCann versus Alexandre Thorina. I was going to go with Molly McCann because I don't know why I just made an accent. Every time I say Molly McCann, I just like say an accent. I don't know why. It's because of Patty Pimlet. With Alexandra, she's just a really like good counter for Molly McCann. I feel like that like she's a good wrestler. She has a lot of submissions. She didn't look too good in her last fight, but she did look good at the same time. Like she dominated her opponent, and you know, I just don't think Molly McCann's gonna win this fight. To be honest, I'm gonna go with like Alexandre by submission in the third round. Actually. You know what else I'm going to say? I think we're going to see a lot more submissions than knockouts on this card. That might be a wild prediction, but I kind of think that there's going to be a lot more submissions than knockouts. Alright, next fight, Kevin Holland versus Gunnar Nelson. Yeah, it's so hard, man, because like, I'm going with Kevin Holland by knockout in the first round. I don't know who this Gunnar Nelson is. I don't want to pick Kevin Holland. I'm not a Kevin Holland fan. I hate him. The way he disrespected Rampage, like, you know what 4570 is? It's just like, come on, man. You're so disrespectful, man. At the same time, like, who the fuck is Gunnar Nelson? Does anyone know who this guy is? Like, I'm pretty sure. Give me a moment. I'm going to look him up real quick. Okay, yeah, so his last 4 fights, right? His last 4 fights, he's 2-2, right? Now, that's not too bad, but when you look at the time he's fought, his last fight was in March 18th, 2023. His last fight before that was March 19th, 2022. And before that was September 28th, 2019. And then the final one was March 16th, 2019 as well. So, you know, and in fairness, though, his last 2 losses actually were against like Gilbert Burns and Leon Edwards. So not too bad losses, actually. Those are actually like, I can understand those losses. Those are pretty good fighters, especially at 2019. Like they were really good back then. So, I can't really blame him on those losses, but I could get this wrong. If I get this one wrong, I'm not gonna be surprised at all. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I was not surprised. Because, like, Gunnar Nelson, he is a good grappler. And we saw in Kevin Holland's last fight, he got grappled by RDR. Now, listen, RDR is, like, one of the greatest fighters of all time, guys. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's no shame for Kevin Holland to losing to RDR, but he got him in, like, the first round. And in fairness, though, RDR was, like, 212 pounds. Something crazy at middleweight. Like, that's crazy. But regardless, though, it's still a bad loss to have. Like, especially for RDR, that was, like, his second fight in the UFC, though. Even though I think RDR is actually pretty good. It's pretty rough for Kevin Holland. But still, though, I just don't think that, like, Gunnar Nelson's gonna look good in this fight, especially on a, almost 2-year layoff base. Was it 2 years or 1 year? No, it was basically 2 years of a layoff, and he's 36 years old. Nah, I don't think he's actually gonna win this fight. I think Kevin Holland's gonna TKO him. I think Kevin Holland has the power. I think that he can defend takedowns if he wants to. But I also don't think Gunnar Nelson is, like, on the same scale of a grappler compared to RDR. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not confident with this prediction at all. I'm going to go with Kevin Holm by TKO in round 1. Alright, now for the co-main event, Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. First of all, this should be a 5-rounder. These two are like really good. Jan Blachowicz should be, honestly, he should fight nothing more than 5 rounds. He is like really good in my opinion. With that being said, I'm going to go with Carlos Ulberg. I can smell a fraud check. Don't get me wrong. I can smell a fraud check right here, and I'm probably going to regret this. I have a very weird feeling that Jan might fraud check him, but Jan's coming off like almost a 2-year layoff and an injury, and he's 42 years old. I know that doesn't play that much when it comes to light heavyweight, because like the heavier you are in like the UFC and the older you are, the less it like greatly affects you. Because like if you're like, let's say, I don't know, let's take bantamweight for example. If you're 37 years old at bantamweight, you're probably not going to be like a top 3 ranked opponent or like top 4 ranked opponent. You know what I'm saying? So with that, but if you're in light heavyweight like Jan Blachowicz is, you can get away with that because like it's not like you don't have to require on the speed as much. You kind of have to require more on the power, you know? But with that being said, though, I feel like Carlos Ulberg, he didn't look good in his last fight against Volkan Oezdemir, but I feel like those are one of those fights where you kind of like have a rough performance in your last fight, and then in your next fight you look really good. Maybe it was due to like Volkan like being a tough style for Carlos Ulberg. I don't know, man. It's tough. And I also, though, even though I would have loved this to be a 5-rounder, I feel like that because it's a 3-rounder, it's actually going to benefit Carlos Ulberg a lot more. Because Jan, like, yeah, he had to fight in a 3-rounder against Alex Pereira. He didn't look good at all. But in fairness, so it was in Salt Lake City. And, like, that's, like, what? I think it's, like, a 400 elevation or something like that. And then you get tired, like, after, like, the first round. So, I mean, it is fair for Jan. He did get tired at the same time. But I just feel like Carlos Ulberg, he has the youth on his side. He's only 34 years old, by the way. Me saying he's got the youth, even though he's 34 years old, is kind of crazy. This is the, like, up-and-coming UFC light heavyweight prospect in the moment. Kind of absolutely crazy. But still, I'm going to go Carlos Ulberg by decision. I just think that the layoff that Jan Blachowicz has had and the injuries are going to play a big factor in this fight, to be honest. I would love Jan to win. I like Jan. He's a very funny dude, in my opinion. If I get this one wrong as well, I'm not going to be upset because I actually do like Jan Blachowicz. Also, I want to remind you guys, they didn't make Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg a 5-rounder, but they made Aaron Blanchfield versus Rose Namajunas a co-main for a fight night card, a 5-rounder. Like, come on now, what is this logic we're doing here? But whatever. Regardless, I'm still going with Carlos Ulberg by decision. Alright, now for the main event, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. Now, you guys noticed, in my last video, I was really excited for this fight, and I still am. I know why a lot of people aren't. I have complete understanding why. Because, like, realistically, this is a boring stylistic fight. Leon Edwards is pretty boring. I'd argue, to be honest, he's, like, equally boring as Bilal, if not worse, in my opinion. Because Leon has the abilities to be a exciting fighter. He has good striking. He has good takedown defense. And when he is on the ground, he does do good. Like, we saw that against Bilal in, like, the last fight. He actually almost finished him. But he doesn't push the pace. He doesn't want to actually fight. He doesn't want to, like, actually try. He doesn't have that dog in him. I talked about this in one of my previous videos. I keep saying that a lot. But still, that's what I do. I talk about these stuff. But, like, Leon Edwards just, if he doesn't, like, actually lock in this fight, he's gonna lose. And with that being said, though, I'm going with Leon Edwards. Why? Even though I said that all this stuff about he doesn't have the dog in him, he's not that good. To be quite honest with you, I feel like he might actually lock in. I don't know why. Maybe he won't. Maybe he might. But I feel like I have a couple reasons. The first is Sean Brady is a really good grappler. But I rewatched his last fight against Gilbert Burns, and he did win that fight comfortably. But Gilbert Burns was actually putting a pretty decent fight against Sean Brady. And to be honest, though, he couldn't take down Gilbert Burns at all in that fight. He just couldn't. They were too stylistically equal when it came to the wrestling and the grappling. So they were just clinching for the like half of the time during that fight. Pretty boring, not gonna lie. And I think Leon Edwards, like, he's not gonna get taken down against Sean Brady. The more I thought about it, the more I'm like, yeah, Sean Brady's not gonna take down Leon Edwards. Bilal Muhammad can, because Bilal Muhammad is actually a good wrestler. He can take down guys pretty, like, good. And also, I have to mention it, if Bilal is able to finish Sean Brady, then I think Leon Edwards has a pretty decent chance at finishing Sean Brady as well. Like, I am a Bilal Muhammad fan, but how do you get finished by Bilal Muhammad? That was Bilal's second finish, mind you, in his last 19 fights in the UFC. As much as I'm a Bilal fan, like, how do you get finished? It's absolutely insane. Now, do I think Leon's gonna finish Sean Brady? No, I think his best bet is that he's gonna rock him or something. Because again, though, even though I'm picking Leon, I'm not comfortable that he's gonna try and like push the pace and finish him. If he looks like how he did against him versus Bilal in the first fight, then I think he'll finish him. But I kind of think he's gonna push the pace a little bit, but at the same time, he's gonna be like very tentative, not like wanting to like go crazy. But still, though, I think Leon Edwards is going to win this by decision. But guys, that is me covering UFC Fight Night, Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. Let me know what you guys thought about this video and leave a comment on who you think is going to win on this main event. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Peace!